Well, it's about damn time we got some NHL 21 franchise mode news. Because the game is out in, let me see if I'm doing my math correctly, 7 days. By the day this is being recorded, I'm not sure if Owen's going to be able to edit and put it up in the same day because, college is so much fun. But it's finally time we got some news about franchise mode because they've talked about EA SHL, Be a Pro, which I should have done a video on. But don't worry, there's going to be a series on that in the upcoming game. We've gotten a bunch of information about HUT, and I really don't care about the online modes. You can have your preferences, but this channel is really dedicated to franchise mode, or GM mode, or whatever you want to call it. It is my go-to in every sports game if I play Madden, MLB, NBA 2K. Those are the modes that I pick up first because I don't have to play with competitive players. I just focus on my own time, learn about the league, learn players in every single team. Jeez, the reason I became a hockey fan was because of NHL. I want to say I got into it in NHL 13 when my uncle was down from Sault Ste. Marie. That's how I really became a hockey fan. That's why I'm such a nerd about these things. But I am really, really excited to learn the news because I am reacting to this without knowing anything except the rumors. There are some whispers. But let's see. I have my own things that I want to be included in this game. Roster sharing, GM connected. They better fix the goddamn goalies. The All-Star game, the trade deadline, which is the first thing they're going to talk about. I'm not going to read every little thing, but go ahead, check out the link in the description below to find the website and read it for yourselves because I know a lot of my viewers really like franchise mode as well, even though it could be so much better. So, welcome franchise fans. We're excited to tell you about the new additions this year to franchise mode. Last year we revamped scouting, added coaching, as well as line chemistry, which is faulty as hell, but hopefully they fixed it up a bit this year. We wanted to address some community requests that you have been sharing with us. Now, I think they're just saying that to just say it. Because if they really, really listen to us, roster sharing is by far the most wanted thing in franchise mode. The trade deadline. We've added all new trade deadline experience replicating the frenzy broadcasted across the league every year. Okay, this better not get repetitive like the draft interview screen, which I wasn't doing late into my last two franchise modes. You'll need to reevaluate your team and decide what route your franchise will be heading into the deadline. You will take 4 options to choose from. Seller, conservative seller, geez Louise, conservative buyer, and buyer. Okay, that is actually quite interesting. Your experience within the trade deadline will be shaped by this decision and will influence what kind of trade offers you'll receive. So actually, let me take a look at the screen here. Looks like what they've been using for the last 5-6 generations of NHL games. But that's cool, so I'm assuming that determines on what kind of offers you'll be getting from other teams. Because the AI in NHL 20 sucked asking for trades. Like, hey, can I get Brock Besser and I'll give you 2 second-round picks and this Joe Schmo? Sometimes we got really awesome trade offers, but that's like once every 3 seasons. It's nothing special. Okay, once you enter the trade deadline, you're officially on the clock. Do we get the blackberries? Oh, come on. Do we get the blackberries? That'd be sick as hell. Starting at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you'll have until 12 p.m. Pacific Time to shore up any deals heading into the final stretch of the season. You'll immediately notice that you'll be presented with top players on the trade block. That's really cool because I know they do that for sure in MLB. Like they have here are the top guys on the wire. Like watch out for these guys. So that's actually quite interesting. I'm hoping it's actually fleshed out. I'm assuming it's going to take a few years to actually be really good, but I'm hoping it doesn't get really, really generic every single year. You'll also see important information about each player, that their contract status, trade value, and what the team is looking for in return. Whenever a trade is made, you'll be notified via the ticker at the bottom of the screen that will deliver details on every move on the trade deadline. That is really cool. So it's in real time. I find that actually really, really cool. So I'm assuming this is going to be a really fun addition. Just like the real trade deadline, the market values of players will fluctuate as the day goes on. So, like, if there's a top guy from a team and nobody's willing to trade for him because the team is stubborn, maybe later into the day, the trade value goes down because they really want to move that player in the cap before the deadline, not wait until the draft. Maybe it's a 1-year contract. Maybe the trade value goes down. So, that's actually really cool. You can view each team's movable assets. The top 10 players will still be available. Players who are off the market, whose teams have decided to keep, and players who have been traded. Okay, that's actually really cool. I'm not the best at live reacting, so just bear with me. If anything catches me off guard, I'll let you know. As soon as the clock strikes noon, you'll be presented with every move made on your way to the back half of the season. Dope. The record book. Now, this is a huge thing for me personally, and a lot of people who play out the 25 years or the 10 years, the 15 years, however many years you do franchise mode for. But I remember getting really depressed finishing the NHL 20 Columbus Blue Jackets franchise mode after 150 episodes, and all it said was, mode is now complete. And that was super depressing. It's been depressing for the entire current gen of NHL games. Like, mode is now completed. I'm like, sick. Wow. You just kind of have to go off your brain and think about what's happened in the franchise mode. So you got all-time NHL career stats. So Gordie Howe, 1,700 points. Most games played, actually. My bad. Most NHL game, or most goalie games, most goals. So that's really sick, because I had a player in NHL 20, Jeffrey Woodworth, who was one of the best players of all time, and I wish he got some news about it. Like, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Press. I wish he got press for it. Like, in the game, they recognized that he was sick. Okay, so it's a record book. That's pretty self-explanatory. Not too bad. Additional updates, multiple positions. So they've added multiple positions for some players, not all. That will help with lineup generation. So it is really crappy, and it feels wrong to go into the edit player screen and maybe change this two-way forward who has better playmaking stats to a playmaker. That feels like cheating. So players will automatically generate as center and a left wing, like JT Miller. That's a nice addition. Just like MLB, that's what I'm thinking of, or NBA 2K, where if they play out of position, it kind of hurts them, and if they're playing in their second position, it doesn't hurt them too bad, and it doesn't really hurt your chemistry. The draft class quality and generated prospect quality. 2 new settings that you can adjust before starting a franchise mode have been added. Okay, that's sick. Firstly, the ability to control draft class quality. The setting controls the frequency of a strong draft class occurring. The highly touted prospects. When set to high, stronger draft classes are generated more often every year. Is that a thing I can change year to year, or does that have to be at the starting of a series? Because it would be nice, like other sports games who are way ahead of the curve, NBA 2K or MLB, you can put your own roster in every draft in NBA. Like, you can put your custom roster, edit the custom players, which is cheeky sometimes. You can cheat, really. But I'm hoping this is year to year. The second setting we've added is generated prospect quality. The setting controls the quality of prospects generated in NHL entry draft every year. When set to high, more top-end prospects are generated. Okay, because not every draft is going to be like 2015 with Connor McDavid, Jack Eichel. It's not going to be one of those years. It's going to be like 2012, where it's Nail Yakupov. Like, that'd be actually really cool. Like, you never know. Ooh, you know what? That would be cool. Sometimes it would be cool if you had the ability to not know what kind of draft it was going to be, and the first overall pick is not even guaranteed to be anything special, like he's highly touted and he's a bust. Because that would be, because it's real. A lot of the time, the first overall pick really doesn't shape up to be anything great. Nail Yakupov, I'm so sorry, dude. Draft pick trade logic. Okay, that's nice. We've updated the logic of CPU-controlled teams. They'll refrain from putting their draft picks on the trade block early in the season, waiting until their team is more established later in the campaign. Yeah, I completely agree with that logic there. You see a lot of these teams who you know aren't going to be good during the season trading for an 82 overall, giving up their first-round pick that turns into the first overall pick, and they get Alexis Lafreniere. Right? I like that idea. I don't want to cheat the system too much, but if the CPU screws up, I'm going to capitalize on that. Revamp trade value of players. You'll notice a greater separation in trade value from player to player. Players like Connor McDavid will have a high value and be much harder to acquire. That's good, because Connor McDavid is the most valuable player in the NHL, and it says he's a medium franchise right there. That's dumb. I'm going to spend days and days and hours upon hours after school between my job fixing up these rosters, getting in all the created players. So that's nice, because you should never be able to trade for a Connor McDavid. Getting into the trade deadline, maybe you have a player like Pietrangelo who's on a 1-year deal and his trade value's up there, but there's some players that should just be untouchable, which makes sense. In closing, we are excited about the new additions we've added this year. Let us know what you think and what you'd like to see down the line. And that's where I guess it ends for the general news on franchise mode. If I'm being honest, I'm super disappointed that they didn't it looks like they didn't address a lot of problems. I get the idea of adding new things here or there, but if your current setup is not viable long term, adding new features is only going to take away from things that you can fix. Let me name one thing. Goaltending. Goaltenders sucked in NHL 20. You could draft and develop a high elite, and they'd be terrible at a 92 overall. Seriously. Goalies overall just didn't matter in that game. It just didn't matter. And I'm hoping that somebody on their development team went, you know what? Maybe we should fix goaltenders, because honestly, I think a goalie makes the team. If a goalie can put up a 920, your team, if it's under average, the goalie should be able to drag a team along once in a while, right? Like a 90 overall. If you somehow get a 90 overall goaltender, that goalie should be able to do something, right? I don't know. They were just so inconsistent. Another thing I would have liked to see added was the All-Star game. It's kind of just an empty week on the calendar in NHL 20 and the last, let's see, NHL 21's like 7 years. It's since NHL 14 we haven't had an All-Star break where you could go in and see who got voted to which, and that's disappointing as well. It's not major, but it would add something to the season to like spice things up. It would make it more personable, I think. So there are a lot of things that I think they missed out on, which could have easily been or changed. The trade deadline, that's huge. I'm really appreciative that they've made the trade deadline this spectacular thing, because realistically, the trade deadline is one of the most crazy days of the year. It's one of the most exciting. Like, you got this 20-hour show on Sportsnet or something along those lines. I'm glad that they added a few new things. I just hope they fixed a lot of things here that they didn't feel like addressing in the news. Like, they didn't have to add, oh, we fixed goalies. Just do that. You don't need to market that. Just fix them. That's all I'm saying. So, all in all, I am happy with the additions they've added. I am disappointed that they didn't go all out this year for the last NHL game on the current gen, because NHL 14 blew the PS3 and the Xbox 360 away. It was the best NHL sports game to date, I think, personally. I mean, you can say NHL or a bunch of retro NHL games are the best, but NHL 14 is the total package. With Live the Life, it was sick. But hopefully it's going to be a fun year for us. I got a whole schedule laid out. It's going to be such a fun time. I will see you guys with the last few episodes of NHL 21 Calgary and Alaska. I'll see you guys tomorrow.